Sarah, Ethan and I are truly in love. You've had him for so long. Can't you just give him back to me now? Wendy clutched Ethan's hand, her face pale as she looked at me with fear. If Ethan wasn't my husband, I'd almost applaud her courage to fight for love. Ethan frowned, pulling her behind him. He couldn't hide the annoyance in his eyes as he looked at me. Sarah, you have so many guys after you. One more or one less doesn't matter to you. But Wendy is different. She only has me. He sighed, his gaze toward Wendy so gentle it was practically dripping honey. Besides, she's your only sister. Are you really going to let her be unhappy for the rest of her life? My sacrifice is nothing. Can't you stop being so selfish? Hearing such shameless words come from his mouth, I could barely stop myself from laughing. If you're going to cheat, just cheat. Why dress it up in such a noble-sounding excuse? Seeing the mockery in my eyes, Wendy's eyes reddened. My mother looked at her with pity, then turned to me, urging Sarah, just give in to your sister. You're the older one. Don't fight with your little sister over things. My mom had always favored my sister, ever since we were kids, just because she was better at acting cute and being likable. After my dad died and our family lost its income, I chose to drop out of school to lighten my mom's load. I went to work to pay for my sister's tuition. But looking at them now, it was clear that 10 years of my support meant less than a man. The little sister I had painstakingly raised had finally become a complete backstabber. Looking at this sister of mine, still trying to guilt-trip me, my heart finally turned to ice. I forced a small smile. In your dreams, I said softly. Wendy pouted and started crying right in front of me. She and Ethan exchanged a glance, and they each pulled a small bottle out of their pockets. You'd better think this through, I warned them coldly. What's more important, love or your life? Wendy shot me a look full of pity, but her tone was condescending. Sarah, love is priceless. How would you understand what Ethan and I have? My mom rushed forward, but before she could stop them, they linked arms, tilted their heads back, and drank. Are you satisfied now, Sarah? After drinking pesticide, we're both sure to die. Since we can't be together in this life, we might as well die as star-crossed lovers. At least our deaths will be a sight for your sore eyes. She and Ethan shared a passionate kiss, then shot me a triumphant smile. My mom's hands trembled as she picked up the bottles from the floor, her face ashen. She burst into tears. How could you drink pesticide? My poor ill-fated daughter. The way they carried on, you'd think I was the villain who'd murdered them. This guilt-tripping routine wasn't the first time they'd pulled it on me. I lowered my head to hide the smile on my face. Since they'd ignored my final warning, I could only wish them an early dreams come true. The three of them probably never would have guessed that the Coke they thought they were drinking had already been spiked with real pesticide by me. In my past life, Wendy had also threatened to drink pesticide to make me divorce Ethan. I was terrified she'd actually do something stupid. So after a moment's hesitation, I immediately agreed. Unfortunately, I was a step too late. I could only watch helplessly as they both drank the pesticide, ready to die together for love. I couldn't face my mother, who cried her eyes out every day. I spent all my savings to pay for their treatment, but they both passed away within a few days. From that day on, I became the sinner. Insults and beatings were a daily occurrence. My mom even branded me a murderer, spreading rumors everywhere that I had driven my sister to her death. Everyone despised me, treating me like a curse. Along with the news of Ethan's death came the crippling debt he'd left behind. As his legal wife, I was forced to inherit it all. I had no choice but to work day and night to pay it off. The constant labor took its toll, completely destroying my health. But I couldn't bear to spend money on a doctor. As I lay on my deathbed, waiting to die, Ethan and Wendy, who were supposed to be long dead, suddenly reappeared. Wendy looked at my emaciated body with disgust, covering her mouth as she giggled. Ethan was right. You really are an idiot. But thanks for paying off our debts for us, sis. Only then did I realize that what they had drunk all those years ago wasn't pesticide at all. It was carefully prepared Coke. They had faked their deaths, leaving me alone to pay off their debts and wait for my own miserable end. But I was reborn. The first thing I did when I came back was to spike their Coke with real pesticide. They wanted to be a pair of tragic, suicidal lovers? As a good sister, of course I had to help them. Wendy clutched her throat and let out a small cough, looking at me pitifully. In the past, whenever she made that face, I would always soften and give in to her every demand. She always knew how to exploit my weaknesses. Too bad I'd already seen her true colors. Now seeing her act like this just made me want to puke. When I didn't move, Wendy got flustered and stomped her foot before storming out. Ethan followed right behind her, completely ignoring me, his wife. My mom marched up to me, her face furious, and slapped me hard across the face. Are you satisfied now that you've hurt your sister like this? I never should have given birth to a monster like you. I swallowed the metallic taste of blood in my mouth and slapped her right back. My mom froze, stunned. She clutched her cheek, unable to believe I would do something so disrespectful. You little monster. How dare you hit me? Get out. Go kneel outside and let the whole neighborhood see what a cheap whore you are. Trying to kill your sister and husband, and now you dare to hit me. I glanced at her, finding the situation almost funny. This house is mine. What right do you have to tell me to get out? If anyone's getting out, it should be you too. That night, Wendy came back, storming in to demand if I had bullied her mother. I glanced at her, and could only laugh at myself. Here I was working myself to the bone to support these two leeches, and they were ready to kill me over a man. If that's how it was going to be, I saw no reason to keep spoiling them. Seeing my cold attitude, Wendy sniffled and tried to play the victim again. Sarah, I'm about to die. Are you still going to treat me like this? I laughed coldly. What the hell does your death have to do with me? You drank it yourself. I didn't force you. If you regretted it, you'd be at the hospital by now, not here putting on a show for me. What a joke. Wendy never expected me to call her out so ruthlessly. Her face went from pale to red and back again. The only threat she had was death. It might have worked in my last life, but this time, my only regret was that I couldn't be the one to personally send her on her way. Wendy was silent for a moment, then suddenly looked up at me, a vicious glint in her eye. You'll regret this, Sarah. I raised an eyebrow. A princess raised in a greenhouse her whole life, what could she possibly do? The nerve to tell me I'd regret it. I found myself wanting to laugh. Wendy was pretty, and with my help, she had seized the opportunity of the internet boom to become a minor influencer. Under my careful management, she now had nearly 300,000 followers. In the middle of the night, Wendy posted a new video behind my back. The picture showed her and Ethan in a close embrace, looking into each other's eyes, seeing only one another. Anyone would say they looked like a perfect, beautiful couple. Under the picture, she added a caption. If true lovers cannot be together, it's better to journey to the underworld together. As soon as the video went up, countless followers flooded her comments, concerned about her. Wendy seized the moment, posting a picture of the two empty pesticide bottles, and immediately starting a live stream. As soon as she went live, 100,000 people tuned in. Wendy's eyes were red as she bowed to the camera, her voice hoarse. Thank you all for your concern. Unfortunately, my life is coming to an end. But to die with the one I love. Perhaps that's a kind of happiness too. Please don't blame my sister. Even though she only wanted to use me to make money, I know that deep down, she cares about me. She turned to Ethan, who was sitting beside her, and curled up in his arms like a fragile white lotus seeking its only protection. All the viewers immediately felt a wave of sympathy, and the comments section exploded. Is that damn sister of hers sick in the head? How could she push our Wendy to drink poison? The sister is a murderer. She can't stand to see Wendy find true love. Is she a psycho or something? The vile insults from netizens came one after another. Wendy had a triumphant look in her eyes. I never thought she could be this shameless, using the platform I gave her to attack me. A few viewers tried to defend me, but as soon as they asked why Ethan, my husband, was being so intimate with her, they were immediately dogpiled by a mob of her brain-dead fans. Ethan held Wendy's hand tightly as they proclaimed their invincible true love on the live stream. A crowd of viewers cheered them on in the comments. I rubbed my aching forehead and just hit the report button. Since when did the cheater and the other woman get to be so bold? They were just digging their own graves. Soon, Wendy's live stream was shut down. Even the massive amount of gifts her fans had sent to support their true love were forcibly refunded by the platform. They had worked all night and didn't make a single penny. I closed my laptop, ready for bed, when someone started pounding on my bedroom door. Sarah, you have the guts to open this door. What are you doing hiding in there like a coward? Was it you who reported the stream? Wendy is crying now, you better go apologize to her. Ethan's furious voice came through the door. So he was here to demand justice for his little lover. I yanked the door open and looked him straight in the eye. He scowled and grabbed my arm, trying to drag me out of the room, but I shook him off. My voice turned cold. Don't you forget, you're still my husband. What you're doing is called cheating. Have you forgotten who it was that pulled you out of the gutter all those years ago? Is this how you repay me? When I first met Ethan, he'd been beaten up by thugs, both his legs broken. He was huddled alone on a hospital bench with no money for treatment. I had scraped together what little money I had to save his life. At the time, Wendy had mocked me for being an idiot, for saving a complete stranger. Looking back now, she was right. Ethan froze for a second, but then his embarrassment turned to anger. So what? Even if you saved my life, the one I've always loved is Wendy. Perhaps the emotional outburst was too much for him. His face turned pale and he covered his mouth, coughing painfully. I looked down at him. You two should go to the hospital. But Ethan wouldn't listen. He shot back reflexively. What do you know? I would gladly die with Wendy. I nodded, looking past him at Wendy, who was standing by the door with a triumphant smirk. I let out a resigned smile. I gave them a chance. Since they couldn't understand plain English, they'd just have to die. Ever since we were little, Wendy was obsessed with taking my things. Whether it was our mother's love or my husband's, if she saw it, she had to have it. Watching her take away the things I cherished, one by one, gave her a strange sense of satisfaction. I don't know why the little sister I had worked so hard to raise had turned into this kind of person. The next morning, when I got up, I found my mom sitting in the living room with a dark expression. When she saw me, she started in with a snide tone. What are you, a pig? Just waking up now? Are you trying to starve us to death? My mom was retired, Wendy was still in school, and Ethan had quit his job long ago under the excuse of keeping Wendy company. I was the only one in this whole family who worked, and I was also responsible for all their meals. I took a deep breath, about to speak, when Ethan's panicked voice came from the bedroom. Mom, come quick. I think something's wrong with Wendy. My mom stumbled as she rushed into the bedroom. Wendy was lying on the bed, her face pale, clutching her stomach and coughing uncontrollably. When she saw me follow them in, a mocking smile appeared on her face. Sarah, are you satisfied now, seeing me in such a pathetic state? Ethan held her in his arms, tears streaming down his face, their fingers intertwined. But I knew it was all an act. Even though Wendy had drunk the pesticide, it was still in the early stages. There was no way she would be like this. I sighed, picked up a lipstick from her desk, and smashed it on the floor. Wendy's eyes went wide. Sarah, what gives you the right to throw my things? I looked at her innocently. Well, you're going to die anyway. I'm just being a good person, and sending your things down to keep you company in advance. Wendy trembled, pointing a finger at me, too angry to speak. She treasured her makeup and designer bags more than anything. They filled half her room. As she watched in horror, I started smashing and tearing them up one by one. Finally, Wendy couldn't take it anymore. She scrambled over with a wail, hugging her bags to her chest. Sis, I'm fine. I'm all better. Please stop. Ethan and my mom exchanged an awkward glance. After all, the big drama they had so carefully staged for me had just been exposed so easily. I looked at them, amused. Looks like I'm a miracle worker. I cured my sister just like that. They both looked away, unable to meet my eyes. Wendy stared at me, her eyes filled with venom. You're so selfish, Sarah. So possessive. No wonder Ethan doesn't like you. Why won't you just let him go? I raised an eyebrow and squatted down to look at her. I'll agree to a divorce. Wendy looked up at me in disbelief. I repeated it again, whispering in her ear. She excitedly shot Ethan a look. I saw him hesitate for a moment. After all, if we really divorced, his debts wouldn't fall on me anymore. I prodded Wendy a little more. Her eyes turned red as she pleaded, Sarah, you wouldn't abandon me, would you? I smiled. Of course. Wendy immediately jumped to her feet, took my arm, and started pulling me out the door, eager to get to City Hall. Seeing Ethan still hesitating, she said sweetly, Ethan, even though you and my sister are divorced, my problems are still her problems. Don't you worry. With Wendy's assurance, Ethan finally relaxed. As soon as the divorce papers were in hand, Wendy eagerly married Ethan. She smiled at me. Thank you, sis, for giving Ethan to me. And thank you, I thought, for taking my place and inheriting Ethan's massive debts. After getting married, the two of them flaunted their love on social media. Their great love that defied worldly conventions was hailed by some teenagers as a symbol of anti-establishment rebellion. With their good looks, their fame grew day by day, and so did their income. On their live streams, viewers would express concern about their health and suggest they get a checkup. But Wendy didn't care at all. Love can conquer anything. A little pesticide is nothing to worry about. In front of countless viewers, they even swore they would never go to the hospital. I just sat back and watched them dig their own graves. During this time, their health was getting progressively worse. But blinded by their newfound wealth, they paid it no mind, dismissing it as a common cold and just taking some over-the-counter medicine. After marrying Ethan, Wendy completely let herself go, showing up every few days to rub their relationship in my face. I just ignored her. When she didn't get the reaction she wanted, Wendy snorted and warned me, "Don't even think about trying to win Ethan back, Sarah." I looked up at her. Only an idiot like her would want a piece of trash like him. A while back, I had secretly used Ethan's ID to take out another huge loan in his name. It was a little compensation for all the years I had wasted. Now that Ethan was spending all his time with Wendy, he probably had no idea his debt had multiplied. "Oh, by the way," Wendy said, a shy smile on her face. "It's my wedding with Ethan in 3 days. You'll come, won't you, Sarah?" Of course I would. I just wondered if the two of them would still be standing by then. At the wedding reception, Wendy had invited a bunch of her sketchy friends to show off, and she wasn't accepting any gifts. This made Ethan, who had planned on using the gift money to pay off some debts, a little annoyed, but he put up with it. When I first met Ethan, his parents had both remarried and wanted nothing to do with him. I was the one who advised him to cut ties with them and not let them leech off him. He had obediently listened. But now both his parents were sitting there, shooting me dirty looks. Turns out, Ethan had reconciled with them behind my back long ago. I was the one who ended up looking like a fool. I lowered my eyes and took a sip of tea. She had dug her own grave. I wasn't going to waste my emotions on people who weren't worth it. Wendy walked elegantly onto the stage in a designer wedding gown. But no matter how much makeup she wore, it couldn't hide the deathly pallor of her face. I watched as she and Ethan exchanged rings and kissed passionately. Then they both turned their eyes to me. "Sarah, thank you so much for giving Ethan to me. You'll wish us a long and happy life together, won't you?" she asked, her big, watery eyes looking at me innocently. After all, we're the ones who are truly in love, aren't we? Countless lights shone on me. The guests looked at me, whispering among themselves. Anyone with eyes could see Wendy was deliberately trying to humiliate me. But still, not a single person stood up for me. I smoothed my hair and looked at my foolish sister. She had no idea that I had prepared a special wedding gift for her today, one she would remember for the rest of her life. Before she could enjoy her moment of triumph for long, a group of tough-looking thugs burst in. "Where's that bastard Ethan? Got money for a wedding but not to pay us back, huh? Pay what you owe." The moment they saw them, Ethan, who had been beaming just a second ago, turned white as a sheet. He tried to back away in a panic, but the man in the lead spotted him. "Ethan, you motherfucker, if you don't pay up today, my boys and I are staying right here. Let's see you try and finish this wedding." My tip-off had paid off. They had come to collect their debt. Unfortunately for the happy couple, they were both reckless spenders and were completely broke. Repaying the money was out of the question. As the murmuring among the guests grew louder, Wendy gritted her teeth, looked at me pitifully, and shamelessly said, "Go ask my sister for the money. She has it." I quickly waved my hands. "Sorry, I'm the ex-wife. His debts have nothing to do with me." Wendy's eyes widened in disbelief. I just shrugged at her. She was the queen of backing out of deals. Besides, I wasn't about to be that stupid a second time. The loan sharks lost their patience. At their leader's command, his men started smashing tables. The entire wedding hall erupted in screams. Wendy coughed up a mouthful of blood. Staring at the bright red stain on the floor, she froze. The next second, amidst my mother's screams, she clutched her stomach and passed out. There's no hope. Her organs are already failing. Even if we save her now, she won't live for long. Wendy had just woken up when the doctor delivered her death sentence. The doctor sighed with regret. "Why would you drink pesticide? If you had come in just a few days earlier, there might have been some hope." Before he could finish, Wendy cut him off with a shriek. "You're lying. What pesticide? I didn't drink any. I drank Coke." Her eyes were bloodshot. In her agitation, She leaned over and vomited another mouthful of blood. It was dark and gave off a foul stench. I held my nose and took a step back. Ethan, his hands trembling, stopped the doctor who was shaking his head and about to leave. I think I drank it too. The doctor frowned and took him for a checkup. When the results came back, he delivered the same death sentence. I watched the two of them, lost and devastated, each in their own hospital bed, and covered my mouth to stifle a laugh. Wendy, wasn't it pesticide you two drank back then? You wanted to be a pair of star-crossed lovers. Now that you're about to die, shouldn't you be happy? My words seemed to light a fuse. Ethan struggled out of his bed and lunged at Wendy, his hands closing around her throat. You bitch. Did you give me the real stuff? Wendy struggled desperately, her face streaked with fearful tears. No. I swear I switched it with Coke. I don't know how this happened. Ethan had always been a selfish prick. Now that his life was on the line, his first instinct was to blame someone else, even the woman he once claimed to love. My mother screamed and rushed forward, shoving Ethan away. That's your wife. How could you hit her? Ethan, already weak, was sent sprawling to the floor. He clutched his head and cried out in pain, but his eyes were still locked on Wendy. Her parents exchanged a look and furiously started brawling with my mom. Who do you think you are, pushing our son? What gives you the right? My mom was getting beaten so badly she couldn't fight back. She looked at Wendy for help, but Wendy just stumbled out of bed, not even glancing her way. This is wrong. This has to be wrong, Wendy muttered, grabbing my pants in desperation, her face a mess of tears. Sarah, this is all just a bad dream, right? I put away the phone I'd been using to record everything and raised an eyebrow at her. Oh, Wendy, this is all very real. But you're dying soon, so it's okay. I gestured with my chin toward Ethan on the floor. You still have your true love, don't you? Wasn't it you who said true love could conquer anything? Why are you crying and saying you regret it now? After the hospital incident, Wendy and Ethan's relationship hit rock bottom. The couple completely turned on each other, and their parents were at each other's throats. I made sure to upload the video of their true colors at the hospital to my own account. Before, when they were faking their illness, they were seen as the ultimate loving couple, becoming famous online for their bizarre declarations of love. Now that the truth was out, everyone could see that the moment they were actually facing death, their first instinct was to blame each other. Realizing they'd been played for fools, a huge number of their followers turned on them. Brands started demanding to cancel contracts and be paid for breach of contract. But Wendy and Ethan were too busy dealing with their own problems to care. Their relationship might have been in tatters, but their marriage certificate was real. And now that little red book looked more like a death warrant. Watching Ethan's personality change, his former gentleness completely gone, Wendy came crying to me for help. Too bad I couldn't help her. She was the one who wanted to get married, now she was the one crying and wanting a divorce. Who had the patience for her childish games? Their health deteriorated rapidly. They started losing clumps of hair and suffering from insomnia, quickly withering away into skeletons. They lived in constant fear, blaming each other every day. The calm, ready to die for love act they put on for their live streams was nowhere to be seen. To prolong their lives, they started taking handfuls of medication, but it was too late. After one particularly nasty fight, Ethan finally came to me. But this time, the light in his eyes was gone. Sarah, I know I was wrong. Now that I'm dying, I finally see who I really love. He choked up, trying to take my hand, but I pulled it away in disgust. He looked at me hurt. Sarah, please. Give me one more chance. Please save me. Sell this house and use the money for my treatment. I swear, I promise you, when I get better, I'll treat you right. It all came down to the same thing, tricking me into selling my house to save him. How shameless could he be to even say those words? My previous weakness had only earned me his betrayal, again and again. I wasn't about to help him now. I looked at him, then glanced at the space behind him with feigned helplessness. If I sell the house and give you the money, what about Wendy? Ethan's voice was sharp. She's not important. Not important, indeed. Seeing Wendy standing in the corner, her eyes full of venom, I couldn't help but smile. Forget it. Just rely on your true love to conquer everything. Both families pooled their money and bought a single miracle pill from a wandering old monk. It was said to cure any illness. There was only one in the entire world. I didn't believe in such things, of course. But to Ethan and Wendy, It was their last and only hope. Wendy knelt before Ethan, clinging to his leg and sobbing hysterically. Ethan, didn't you say you loved me more than anything in this world? Please, let me have the pill. I'm sicker than you are. Once I'm better, I swear I'll find a cure for you. Ethan kicked her away, his voice harsh. If it wasn't for your stupid idea to drink pesticide, I wouldn't be in this mess. This pill is mine, don't even think about it. As they were about to start fighting again, with their parents squaring off, I offered a helpful suggestion. Since you can't agree, just draw lots. Highest number gets the cure, lowest number waits to die. Leave it up to fate. They couldn't settle the argument, so in the end, they had to go with my idea. I prepared 2 identical balls of paper and tossed them on the table. Wendy snatched one first. Ethan cursed under his breath and reluctantly took the other. But when he opened his, a look of pure ecstasy spread across his face. He smoothed out the paper. A large 6 was visible to everyone. But before he could say a word, a silent Wendy with lightning speed grabbed the box with the pill from the table. Before anyone could react, she popped the pill out and swallowed it. The smile froze on Ethan's face. After a moment, a desperate howl escaped him, and he tackled Wendy to the ground, beating her senseless. Wendy protected her head, a twisted smile on her face. Didn't you say you love Sarah? Then you can go to hell and love her there. All by yourself. My mother laughed out loud, completely ignoring the murderous glares from Ethan's parents. I watched the whole farce unfold and couldn't help but laugh too. They talked a big game about their invincible true love, but now, they turned their backs on it in a second to save their own skin. In the end, they were both just as fake as each other. In a way, they really were a perfect match. Seeing that Wendy was about to be beaten to death, I kindly called the police. The show wasn't over yet, and I didn't want her to die so easily. Wendy took a severe beating, but whether it was because of the pill or not, her complexion grew rosier by the day, and her health even seemed to improve. The opposite was true for Ethan. Ever since Wendy stole his only hope, his taut nerves finally snapped. His health went into a nosedive. He was on his last legs. Wendy went to see him a few times, feigning concern, but was always cursed out. Seeing that he was on the verge of death, his parents came to see her again, but with a truly bizarre demand. They wanted Wendy to give Ethan a child to carry on his bloodline. After all, both families had split the cost of the pill. Since Wendy had stolen it, it was only right that she give them a child. With a grandchild, their son wouldn't have died in vain. It was either that or pay back the money. Listening to their blatant scheming, I almost felt sorry for Ethan. Even on his deathbed, his parents wouldn't grant him a shred of freedom. My mom had spent her last dime of retirement money on Wendy, and had nothing left. So however unwilling Wendy was, she had no choice but to comply. But after just one night with Ethan, he coughed up blood and passed out. His parents tearfully rushed him to the hospital, but he died on the way. Just like that, Ethan was dead. Wendy breathed a sigh of relief. That same night, she started another live stream. She tried to use her old trick of playing the victim to get views, but I had already posted the video of her stealing the pill that was supposed to be Ethan's. The same person who had screamed about dying together was now showing how terrified she was of death. The public's positive image of her shattered. She was universally condemned, and so many people reported her that her account was permanently banned. Wendy threw her phone against the wall in a rage. I stood at her door, watching her meltdown. Pesticide poisoning has no cure. I never believed in some miracle pill. After Ethan's death, as his legal wife, Wendy was forced to inherit all his debts. But she couldn't pay a single penny. Shamelessly, Wendy tried to get back the wedding gifts, but her so-called friends had all blocked her. All she could do was stomp her feet in frustration at home. The debt collectors started showing up every day. At first, she tried to hide in my house, but I had already sold it without her knowing. When the new owners showed up, she and my mom were forced out onto the street. Wendy finally dropped her act and started screaming at me in front of everyone, calling me a heartless monster. But everyone there was smart enough to see through her. They'd all heard the stories. They just watched it like a joke. No one took her side. The collectors started getting violent, cornering her on the street, and even threatening to sell her to human traffickers. Wendy lived in a state of constant fear and anxiety. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Wendy secretly stole the last of my mom's money and ran away in the middle of the night. When my mom realized what had happened, She collapsed on the ground, dumbfounded. Wendy had planned to flee the country to escape her debts, but just as she got to the airport, she started convulsing and collapsed on the spot. Luckily, a kind stranger sent her to the hospital. When I arrived, she was lying on the bed, pale and gaunt, her eyes sunken and dark. She looked like she didn't have much time left. How is this possible? I took the pill. How can it not be working? She asked, looking at me in horror, unwilling to accept it. I took out my phone and kindly held it in front of her face. That wasn't a cure, I said with a sigh. The monk who sold it to you was arrested for fraud yesterday. The miracle pill he sold you was just a mud ball. Wendy stared at me, her eyes vacant. Her lips moved, but no words came out. She had been so happy for so long, even causing the death of the man she supposedly loved, but in the end, her illness was never cured at all. Wendy covered her face and finally burst into tears. But even if she regretted it now, it was no use. They drank the pesticide themselves. I never forced them. I sighed and, ignoring her calls from behind me, walked out of the hospital room without looking back. A few days later, a friend told me Wendy had died. My mom went to collect her body, crying, but was cornered at the door by debt collectors. Since Wendy was dead, her mother was the only one left to inherit her precious daughter's massive debts. My mom is 65, a great age to start paying off debt. I looked out the window. The warm sun shone down on me. I stretched, a smile spreading across my face. What goes around comes around. It's just karma. The end.